Assassin's Creed is a good franchise.
I haven't played them since, what was the Egyptian one?
Origins.
Yeah.
You didn't play Odyssey.
I didn't play Odyssey.
That's a good one. I thought it was too bloated. Everyone's like, you hated it. No, I liked Odyssey. I think it's a good game. I just think it was way too long and too full of bullshit. That's all I would say on that.
Yes.
But they're making another one, guys. Surprise, surprise. It's called Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yes.
And we played it.
We did. For like 3 hours?
About 3.5 hours, yeah. So
just on the tip of impressions. I mean, at what point is impressions? I think 4 hours is impressions.
Sam, every game you've ever given a review to, you play for like an hour. So what are you talking about?
A good 30 minutes is all you need. Like Witcher, you only need 30 minutes.
That's exactly
Anyway,
right.
let's get to the drop and talk about Valhalla. Okay, so I am one of these people that aren't overly, obsessed with Assassin's Creed. I played them throughout the years ever so often, blah, blah, blah. I didn't play Black Flag. I should play that.
Bro, that is the best
Assassin's
good, right?
Creed game, even Conrad, our non-gamer brother, loved that game. Anyway, what I'm getting at is I'm not attached to this. So when I jumped in, I'm like, cool, let's just see what this is like. Off the top, I thought it felt very cool. I actually really liked what they're doing with this.
So let's talk about the fundamentals. This is Assassin's Creed as you know it from the recent iterations. It's not old school Assassin's Creed. It's in the Origins and Odyssey mold, except now it is like Vikings. And the Vikings, they start out in Sweden, and then you head over to England. Norway.
Yes.
That's what I said.
Nice.
They're all the same.
They're pretty much. You have the bird still. The bird is still here,
there,
everybody.
yeah. But you're going over to England and you are settling England. You're building settlements there, and like negotiating treaties with people, and people are marrying each other and all that sort of shit to kind of like consolidate the Viking presence in England. We played a part of the demo where it was a few hours into the game. I think we were like level 7, for example. So we'd arrived on those shores. There were already some settlements set up. We were just sort of negotiating some treaties and stuff between people, and we also did some other stuff. So that's where we sat in the demo. That's what the game is. You were saying that you liked it in terms of what you played.
I actually didn't. I didn't mind it at all. Like I don't think it's like my favorite game ever. But having said that, from what I played, it's very solid. The combat feels great. The bow especially, it just felt really heavy, and like I really loved that. Aesthetically, it looked really nice. I mean, it looked like a polished package for what we've seen for 3 hours. And I think a lot of people that like Assassin's Creed are going to jump on this and go, job well done in terms of just making a solid, next installment in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, so I feel like having played both Origins and Odyssey, I can definitely talk about some of the comparisons in terms of how it's changed. So number one, obviously there's the visual style. Origins and Odyssey both had a lot of that Greek architecture thing going on. Even though Origins was in ancient Egypt, there was still a lot of ancient Greece stuff around there. Those games looked quite similar. This is an entirely different style. You're talking about English countrysides, you're talking about little stone huts, and you're talking about like rolling hills of green. It's just very and muddy and like quite muddy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
very medieval.
It looks cold. It looks different, and I really like that. I think if you've played For Honor, quite a few of the castles and stuff that you sort of like raid in For Honor.
I was thinking that too.
It looks a lot
Big
like
time.
that, and we'll come back to that point soon.
Big time.
So that visual style is great, and I just actually like the setting a lot. I just love the whole Viking thing, and I was immediately kind of drawn into it. So I like that. Combat is the biggest difference, okay? So right now, you can actually dual wield. The way combat works is there's a heavy attack and a light attack, and you can also that's your two right triggers, a bumper and trigger. Your left bumper is used for your left-hand weapon. So if you've got a shield in your hand, you can like hit people with your shield or block with it,
or parry.
Whatever. But you can also put an axe in that hand and you can swing that axe, you know what I mean? So there are combos available for dual wielding. Combat, though, is just way more animation-led and just awesome, can I say. I had such a good time with combat in this game. It feels great.
Funny, look, I didn't love the combat. I loved the bow. I really loved sitting there and I just felt like that was, for me, a much more funner experience when I was actually in combat. When I was in combat, it felt slightly janky, a little bit janky. Well, a little bit like, not heavy, but more like, it just kind of wasn't molding together in that combat.
No, I get that. I agree with that because, as I said, it's very animation-led. And when you make combat that's animation-led, then it kind of feels a bit weird because it kind of has to click into place to execute those animations. So I definitely agree with that. However, I think that the animations were so awesome that I just appreciated it. You were literally like you know, shield slam someone, they would drop their shield, you'd pick up their shield, slam it down on their neck and decapitate them with it. It was
finisher moves.
It was so bloody.
That.
Like it was way more gory than the last Assassin's Creed.
Gory, yeah.
But really cool. There was one. Did you use the axe combo? Where he like throws the axes. Oh, it's so sick.
I didn't use that.
So basically, like he has this thing where he's got his like little hatchets or whatever, and you execute one of your abilities. You hold like right trigger, and then you press a button, and he would like literally throw an axe one direction, throw it another, and then like throw 2 axes at someone. It was sick. You know what I mean? I loved all that stuff.
Definitely. And there's a ability tree kind of thing where you can actually put on the D-pad and also on the actual buttons. So the amount of different actions and the ways that you can actually go into the battlefield seemed like it was going to be endless. Like we only got to play with 8 or 9 different types of extra, abilities or whatever. But the actual table itself looked like it could fit, 60 odd different types of
which is what it had
extra
in the last
moves.
Game. It had that in the last game. It had a lot. It's not endless, but there's definitely a lot.
Yeah, sure.
So you can kind of customize in terms of what kind of weapon you want to specialize in.
Yeah.
I noticed that there was like bear gear, wolf gear, and raven gear, and I think they sort of connect with different styles of like range fighting versus melee versus I'm not sure what the other one is.
And the skill tree was very kind of looked like a mixture between Skyrim and Final Fantasy X.
It did look like that.
It was very Skyrim in terms of like clouds and thunder and like what are they
Constellation.
The constellations. There we go.
Sure.
As well as you have to unlock something before other areas of the skill tree kind of open up in that kind of big spherical like landscape. But we only got to unlock one, but that's why when I saw so many possibilities, although at the moment I'm not overly loving the combat, I'm excited to see how much it grows on me based on what you can do with it.
Yeah, there were some sort of like key moments in the game where you actually call your longboat and you can go down a river. So you literally blow your horn, your longboat arrives, and then you sail it down a river, and then you get a notification that there's a village you can raid. So you press the Y button, your ship will pull up, and you all pour out, and then you start attacking, tearing everyone to pieces, going up there. You move up, you eventually like make your way into the central town building, and then you fight the boss or whatever. Then the village is yours once you blow the horn. Really cool sequence, really enjoyed that. But the best sequence though was when we did the official assault on the big tower, okay? And it was kind of like there was a battering ram, and you had to kind of fight people off and also run to the battering ram, push it forward to break through the defenses, and then do that multiple times until you eventually get to the end.
Like a payload almost. Like you had to sit with it slightly.
Sort of, a little bit, yeah. But no, because payload implies it keeps moving, which is what For Honor does, okay? And this definitely reminded me of For Honor, because in that game, you kind of have to keep your NPC, what are they called? Creeps. You need to keep your like creep dudes on the ram so they keep it moving. This is not like that. Like they'll still do a little bit of work, but you need to be on that ram, ramming it to open the door.
I had a different experience. I only used it a little bit, but I let them do it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was going around just fighting and Legolasing and all that kind of stuff.
That's another thing that I noticed was really good about these assaults. You can go multiple ways. So Sam went through one path and just killed everyone on the way through, and I, as the sort of assassin path, snuck around the fort right to the back, and then I could just assassinate the leader, and the assault was won. So there was 2 ways to go about that, or at least 2, and I thought that was really clever.
Definitely. I felt like the raid was definitely the highlight for me in terms of just seeing everything come together, like a lot of enemies, a lot of ways that you can kind of go about the battle. You get to fully use your abilities, and all the different types of enemies that you get. I'm sure there's going to be more in the future, but for what we saw, it just felt like there was enough interesting stuff going on in the battlefield that really kept me engaged.
The other thing was that you can assassinate higher level targets, or at least you can do more damage, I think. So basically in the most recent Assassin's Creed games, because they were level gated, you couldn't like one-shot kill people even though you assassinate them while they're asleep, you know what I mean? Which is kind of goofy. Now what happens here is that when you assassinate a higher level target, there's like a quick time event that happens. Did you see this? Where the circle comes in, and if you execute at the right time, then I think you might be able to kill them. Did you kill someone high level like that?
I killed one of the Slayer. There was a particular high level person. I did kill them.
In one shot?
In one shot.
Okay, cool.
But I did think to myself, maybe at this moment I can, but if I was to find someone a lot higher, maybe even if I get it really, bang on in the A, pressing A at the right time, I might do half damage. Who knows?
So I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I will say though that they have made more of an effort to make it so that if you want to one-shot kill people or do lots of damage to them as an assassination, you can do that with this quick time event thing. Other than that, we did a drinking game.
Yes.
That was fun. Skål, skål, skål.
It was,
and you had to like tip yourself and stuff. I couldn't do the Viking rap battle.
He didn't do the Viking rap battle. There's also rap battles in this, which were fun, but it was ultimately 3 different types of dialogue, and you had to find which one was going to rhyme on the last word. You know, it's a bit of fun. You're not going to do it more than maybe twice or 3 times in the whole game. But look, I mean, all these little tiny games, of course, it adds to it. When you're walking around the actual towns and stuff, they felt alive. You know, they felt good from what we saw. You know, they felt alive, and it did a very good job of really capturing what 9th century England would have felt like in terms of. Yeah, just the primitive nature of it, and also, you can look right outside the town. There's these gigantic greeneries that you can ride around in. You also got Roach, okay? You got, of course, you can
summon.
You can press down on the D-pad. You can get your horse. All sorts of ways that you can traverse throughout the land. And the actual map looked pretty damn big.
It looked pretty big, but also not so big as well. That's another thing. The developers have said specifically that the map is roughly the same size as Odyssey, which I'm like, no. But they did say it's going to be a more condensed experience than Odyssey. It's not going to have the same sort of like period in the middle of the game where you have to grind out multiple levels to progress the main quest. So I'm looking forward to that part, because the final thing I will say is that this is still Assassin's Creed Odyssey / Origins. If you are looking for something vastly different from those formulas, this is definitely not it. This is like 85% the same stuff.
Yep.
And that's okay. As I said, I enjoy that formula. I like it. I have a good time with it. No one is really calling out for, not no one, but very few people are calling out for massive changes to that formula. A lot of people love it. So this is more of that, and you should just know that going into it. It's very similar to what you have already seen, but just different.
I thought that given the whole, Breakpoint debacle, I thought we might see, maybe some decent changes in this, but it doesn't seem like there is a huge change in this game. But having said that, why fix something that's not broken? A lot of people do like this. And I'm looking forward to this actually coming out. I do want to play more of this.
Yeah,
sure.
Release date not known yet, but it will be out soon-ish. And no, that's a lie. It's out the end of the year. I know that. At some point at the end of the year, it'll come out. It's Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We don't know anything about the microtransactions. Please have no XP boosters. We don't want to pay you money to skip your games, Ubisoft. We just want to pay you money to play them. So just keep that in mind. That's all I've got to say.
That's all we've got to say.
That's the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.